from the oldest city in the USA, St. Augustine tonight, with our guests, Dave Chatterton, Mario della Penta, Carlos Aviles, and musical guest SUMA, and comic relief by Toffer Matheson, with your host, Jorge Rivera.
Live from the Corazon Cinema and Cafe in beautiful downtown St. Augustine, it's the St. Augustine Tonight Show with your host, Jorge Rivera.
Wow. Are we packed tonight? Now you know how a sardine feels inside its can. Something similar to this. I want to thank you all for being here. Give yourselves another hand. I'm always shocked that someone decides to go out on a Tuesday night to something like this. It's just the beginning of the week. So from the heart, I really couldn't thank you enough for being such big supporters of this show. I also wanted to let you know that if you want to make a comment at the show, we have a hashtag that we use, which is the # and then SATS4, means St. Augustine Tonight Show, Season 4, and then you can leave a comment. We've been using that hashtag for a while. Also, we have mugs if you want to have a mug like the people in the show and feel important in the morning as you drink your coffee. And also, we want to thank Shirley Flowers. You're going to see these beautiful flowers. The Corazon. We want to thank the distillery. We want to thank so many people who help us, the people behind us, you know, Rod Morris, Danny Berenberg, Bernadette, my crew here, these young Flagler students. And I could go all night and make this show very, very long. Also, I wanted to give a shout out to Philip McDaniel of the distillery, who must be among us. He got the Discus Award for a craft distillery that makes an incredible spirit, but also takes care of the community. And that is an honor. He is so supportive of so many things, including this show, that I could be here all night. Also, Rod Morris, who got the Impact Community Award, which was, it's someone who advocates the arts in the beach communities here, Ponte Vedra, here in St. Augustine, you know, the coast along here. He's responsible for so many artists bringing their art and helping artists in this community. So I wanted to give them a shout out tonight. So, you know, I love to look at the news, and I was seeing that Prince Charles, he's very old, I don't know why they call him Prince anymore, but I think he just turned 71, but he went to the Aston Martin factory, and they wanted to show him the latest Aston Martin. They have an SUV now. They're working on an electric car also. But what was funny of the story was that he went there in a DB6, which is an old Aston Martin they built between 65 and 70. And he rides it there, and it runs on white wine. So whatever you can't drink, when you make the white wine, there's part of the product you can't drink or use. And he uses that to push his car. He had it adapted in 2006. So now when he drives that old car, it's running on white wine. And he says it smells wonderful. And would that be great? Also, I saw something very interesting. I mean, the world of science is moving so quickly. They have now what they call cell bots. And what cell bots is, they make a robot out of cells. This is science fiction almost. And so what they do is, through an algorithm, they find certain cells, anywhere from 500 to 1,000 of them, that send certain signals. And using the algorithm, they program this organism to do something in your body. So they built one that looked like a donut. And in the hole of the donut, they created a little sack where they put medication. They inject it, and it goes through your body, and it does what it's programmed to do, to deliver that medication to a specific organ or place. I mean, it's crazy, and they call them cell bots. And this is really, I think as we start finding things about the inner part of our bodies, we keep finding things about outer space also. New planets, new constellations, new big bangs happening everywhere. And it's a really crazy world we're in. Also, another thing I saw was a drone. They have these giant drones now that are going like through these areas that have no trees, and the drones are releasing these seeds for trees. And the seeds have been treated in such a way that they have a better chance of survival. So there's a good chance there'll be a tree there. And they hope to plant millions of trees using these giant drones. And I think that for the planet that needs oxygen, I think it's a very good thing. So also look at this coronavirus. It gets a little scarier every day, and we hope they can control it, because if they don't, we're going to have big problems, and we can see some of it already happening. And those cruise ships I talked about a while ago, the one in Japan, they took care of it, and the one that was on the other side went to Cambodia, where they were accepted with open arms. Just don't shake my hand. And so that's the kind of thing it is. But tonight we have a great show. We have Dave Chatterton with us. We'll get to know him. Mario della Penta, we'll get to know him. And our fire chief is here, Carlos Aviles. We'll get to know him. And we have a great stand-up comic. Mr. Toffer Matheson will be with us tonight. But right now, I'm going to leave you with our musical guest, SUMA. Enjoy.
El amor llega así de esta manera, uno no se da ni cuenta. Caballo le dan sabana porque está muy despreciado, por eso no te perdona yo. Cuando el amor llega así de esta manera, uno no tiene la culpa. Amor que no se comprende, amor que del despasado. Bebe, pele, bebe, bebe, pele, bebe. Bambolea, bambolea, porque mi vida yo la quiero vivir así. Bambolea, bambolea, porque mi vida yo la quiero vivir así. No tiene perdón de Dios, pero es mi vida la fortuna del destino, pero el destino tendrá pena para dos. Lo mismo hoy que ayer. Yo no quiero el abandono, es imposible, no te siento de verdad. Pero es un día si te encuentro de la nada. Lo digo, yo pienso en ti. El amor llega así de esta manera, uno no tiene la culpa. Amor que no se comprende, amor que del mes pasado. Bebe, pele, bebe, pele, bebe, pele, bebe, pele. Bambolea, bambolea, porque mi vida yo la quiero vivir así. Bambolea, bambolea, porque mi vida yo la quiero vivir así. Bambolea, bambolea, porque mi vida yo la quiero vivir así. Bambolea, bambolea, porque mi vida yo la quiero vivir así. ¡Suma!
Man, I feel tropical. I don't know about you, but I want a mojito right now. We'll be right back after these messages. SUMA, awesome.
Thank you.
year in January. Everything from the German farmer bread, the Schwarzwälder Flosserbrat. We have Jewish roots as well on my mother's side, so we do challah every Friday. That's available.
We're back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back with Dave Chatterton. And wow, when I had that conversation with you, I realized we were both kids of the inner city. And we dealt with our own stuff of the inner city. And to see you where you are now is just an amazing journey as we talked and I asked questions. And but so people know, what is the name of the organization you work for right now?
I work for a company called Historic Tours of America. We're probably better known here in St. Augustine as Old Town Trolley Tours.
Mm-hmm. Or the green trolleys.
Or the green trolleys, right? Or the reason I'm late to work. Right?
Well, I live off St. Marcos, so it's not just you, it's all the other trolleys, the ghosts, the horses, you name it, the electric, the rickshaw guys. I mean, I get them all.
Look, if it wasn't for the trolleys and the bridge, I wouldn't have kept a job as a kid. They were my go-to excuse for being late.
Mm-hmm. Now, you were born and raised where?
I was born and raised in Hackensack, New Jersey, North Jersey.
Hackensack,
yeah.
Look at that, all those Jerseyites out here.
Yeah.
Yeah, some are Giants fans, some are Eagle fans.
Eagles.
Okay, I'll leave it alone.
Yeah, no, lost me with that one.
So now, you came to St. Augustine. How old were you when you came to St. Augustine, probably?
Just after I graduated high school.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow. And you came because?
Yeah, I followed a girl.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. She
the
dumped
human
me.
Story.
She dumped me.
Uh-huh.
I decided to stay.
Okay.
Because if you're familiar with Hackensack, New Jersey, it was an easy decision.
Yes.
I liked it better here. So yeah.
Yeah, and was there a little growing up in Hackensack, New Jersey, and then coming to this sort of tropical setting, a historical city, was there any sort of a shock or a good thing, or did you feel special being here when you first came, or did you miss going back home or anything like that?
Well, I tell you what, I think one of the biggest differences I found was, in New Jersey, you really don't leave the house until you get married, right? And down here, the kids seem to get out of the house as soon as they turn 18, right? So being out on my own, with very little experience,
right.
Everything was an ordeal.
Wow.
Wow. Everything.
Yeah, turning on the lights, whatever. Yeah.
Absolutely helpless.
Yes. And so what was your first job that you did related to the tourism industry here?
Yeah, I was driving a horse and carriage, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, driving a horse and carriage.
Wow.
A couple odd jobs.
Right,
If you worked in
right.
tourism and hospitality back then, it was very common to have multiple jobs.
Right. And so all your experience of horses in Hackensack turned out good here.
I've never saw a horse until I came to St. Augustine, yeah.
Wow.
And they let me drive one.
And so from now there you are, and it's a good paying job, and now what do? You decide to go back to school? Do you decide to move up within the company? What happens to you?
Well, I think while I was here, I certainly had my share of fun, growing up here.
Right.
And I was just trying to make it. I was very motivated, I think, back then, because I just didn't want to go back to fail and have to go back to to Hackensack. I really, really liked it here, but I was scared to death that I'd have to go home with my tail between my legs.
So that fear was an incentive then?
It was a huge motivator.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so your next job after a horse and buggy, what was your next thing?
Yeah, so I continue to raise my hand anytime there was an opportunity. So really enjoyed tourism and hospitality, hanging out with people who were on vacation. That's infectious, people having fun. I like being around, that. So I continued to move up in the company, and my wife joined a company called Historic Tours of America.
Okay.
They had bought the green trains.
Right.
And that was pretty exciting when Historic Tours of America came to town.
Right.
At that point, I'd probably been living here for, I don't know, maybe a decade.
Okay.
Nothing really changed. So this big company, coming in, we heard all kinds of rumors about them, some good, some not so good.
Right.
She went to work for this company. She moved up in the company, became the museum manager for the old jail. She was coming home every day with these wonderful stories of just how much she was having fun at work. Historic Tours of America has one of their saying is we make work days play days. So she'd come home, tell me these great stories, and I got to meet through her a gentleman named Ed Swift IV, and through several different meetings, he ended up offering myself and my wife a position in the company to transfer to Savannah, Georgia. Me as the operations manager, and my wife the vendor representative.
Wow.
Yeah, so we got to go to Savannah,
so you guys
Georgia.
were a team in Savannah.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful city, Savannah.
Yeah.
To me, it's more like a museum city. It's a different vibe than here, at least when I'm in Savannah.
Yeah, I guess if you're talking about the attractions, there's not a lot of kid-friendly attractions for sure. And of course, in Savannah, the big question is, what's your drink, right? So it's very, adult themed.
Now, how long did you stay in Savannah?
About 4 years.
Wow. And how did you end up back in St. Augustine then?
Well, myself and the team were very successful up in Savannah. I was there for 4 years, like I said. Said I'd agreed to be there for about 3.5 years, and I had probably rehearsed the answer to this question 100 times. And one night I was with Ed Swift IV, and we went to dinner, and he was dropping me back off at my car, and he said, you've been here 4 years, and we asked you to come up for 3.5 years, and thank you. And had you really thought about next steps, with the company? I mean, do you want to stay here? Is there another city that you might be interested in transferring to? I mean, so pie in the sky. If you could do anything in the company, what would you like to do? Like I said, I'd rehearsed the answer to this question 100 times. I said, look, I would love to come back to St. Augustine, and I would love to run your operations. And I had no idea, but the general manager at the time, his name was Denny Axelin, had given a very long notice, a 2-year notice. Had no idea. The timing was just absolutely perfect. And before I knew it, I was on my way back to St. Augustine.
So that allowed you to sort of, with him, sort of find out how it was done here and get ready for that job for when he left. You were in full command. Yeah,
he had a 2-year notice. It was the best possible circumstance. The gentleman, Denny Axon, he was honestly the best communicator, the best people person I ever met. And he was absolutely, wonderful, very, very, gracious, allowed me to, to run the company, but at the same time, very, in a very mentoring way.
Right, right. And
a lot of people don't get that opportunity.
Right, exactly. I was saying you were so lucky. It's like everything was meant to happen in that journey. So now you're running this. It's a big operation, but you guys do a lot for the community, though. It's not just running the little train up and down. And even something like that has so many moving parts.
Yeah.
From insurance, something can happen, a crash. You could go on and on and on, that it's not an easy thing to manage. But what else does the trolleys do for us, the green trolleys do for us here in St. Augustine?
Well, besides the trolleys, which is really their core, business.
Right.
We also operate several other attractions, in town, like the old jail, the oldest store museum experience, and Potter's, wax museum. And as far as, doing a lot for the community, I'm really lucky for the 2 people that I work with, that allow me to use their resources for all of these philanthropical efforts, that we do. So yeah.
And so you do stuff also with high schools, don't you? You do something with schools or anything like that?
Well, yeah. So of course, one of the reasons I wanted to come back to St. Augustine, I loved Savannah. It was when my wife and I decided we wanted to have a family. And of course, St. Johns County, great place to raise children, great schools. I've got 2 children in the school system here. We employ almost 200 people here in the city, family people that also have children in the schools. I think you probably agree with me. The schools are definitely the crown jewel in the county.
True.
So we want to continue to support these wonderful schools and children's education. And we do that through an organization we're very proud to be associated with, Inc., Investing in Kids, run by Donna Luders and Davey Hartzell.
Right.
I mean, I think they do a great job. So we're big supporters with them. I was introduced as one of the co-founders of the 5K. That's a race that's really been developing. That's become a nice little profit center for Inc.
Right. And what does the future look like for a company like yours? What do you see for the future?
Well, I tell you, we the wonderful group of people that I work with, we spend pretty much every waking minute thinking about how to entertain people, how to improve on what we did yesterday, being very responsive to our guests. We've got many different outlets for our guests to tell us how we're doing, what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong. So
and your trolleys are running on propane? Is that some of them are running on propane? Or anything?
Yeah, all of our vehicles run on propane.
Wow.
Also, great, yeah. And that's nationwide, with the exception of Boston, because of the tunnels, and it's illegal to run the vehicles on propane. So they actually run on biodiesel up in Boston. So yeah, we're very proud of our fleet. I'm not sure if you've noticed, but we're just finishing up on our fleet, rebuilding our entire fleet. So we've got 13 brand new vehicles out there, all running on propane. They've all got the parabolic speaker system, which contains the noise inside the trolleys. We go through a lot of residential neighborhoods, and that really does reduce the noise bleed, into people's houses. Brand new suspension system on the trailers, which allow for a much smoother ride. Grab handles for people that need them to get into the vehicles. Accessibility. 6 or 7 of our trolleys right now have wheelchair units.
Access.
So we're looking to be 100% wheelchair accessible in the very near future.
Wow, this area is just growing so fast.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, it's like boom, 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 boom. I go around parts of St. Johns County, and it's just cranes and building and malls and neighborhoods. So I guess the thing of calling it a quiet little town is getting less quieter. I mean, it's busier and busier. But your job it's a 7-day, it never stops. So what do you do to chill, man?
What do I do to chill? Not much. So I have two little guys.
How old are they?
I have a 7-year-old and a soon-to-be 11-year-old.
Oh, wow.
So I have to stay very active. So I exercise a lot so that I can keep up with them. Still going down water slides and things like that. Don't want to be that dad, right? I'll meet you at the bottom of the slide. So still doing that.
That's fun.
I'm pretty much an Uber driver for my children, my wife and I. We tag team that.
That's funny. But you also sometimes go out to Disney's organization to learn, to train out there.
Yes.
Get better at what you do.
Yeah, so one of the great things about Historic Tours of America, not only do they invest in their buildings and their properties and their collections, they really do invest in their people. And honestly, everything I know about the tourism and hospitality industry has really been taught to me or mentored to me by HTA. So what you're talking about is Disney actually has a school, and I've been to the Disney Institute probably 6 or 7 times. I've taken all of their classes.
Right.
And it's not, again, I mean, I'm in heritage tourism, so I'm certainly not going there to learn, how to create animatronic figures and put them in the jail. It's really more towards. I enjoy talking to the guy who runs maintenance, for Disney World, and learning from him how to keep the bathrooms clean. How to it sounds like a really simple thing, but putting everything on systems, right? So the bathrooms look the same as they do at the end of the day that they started out looking like in the beginning of the day. Emptying trash cans, big deal. Opening up the gates every day on time. It's it's that redundancy. It's putting those systems in place. So they're a great organization to learn from.
Well, I thank you so much for being on the show, because we see people like you, and we see something like the trolleys, and we just don't realize all the stuff that's behind that. Not only that benefits the community, but also to run something like this constantly, 7 days, 365 days a year. So I thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having me. Dave Chatterton. So,
cheers.
Who wants to take a picture?
Oh.
We'll be back with our next guest in 1 minute.
At St. Augustine Distillery, we're part of a new generation of American craft distillers. Family owned and operated, we are committed to making the best possible spirits using local agriculture. Our distillers make everything by hand, from mashing and blending to distilling and tasting each and every batch. We distill and bottle everything we sell, making sure that the spirits are just right before barreling and aging. Bottled by real people, we love showing our guests not only what we do, but why we do it. We're passionate about educating our guests to not only what goes into each bottle, but how to make the best possible cocktails. We love St. Augustine, and thanks to your purchases, we're able to give back to the community and help local organizations each and every day.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you for your support.
St. Augustine Distillery, handmade with pride in the nation's oldest city.
We're back, ladies and gentlemen, for real this time. I'm here with Mario della Penta, and he is an artist. He's done many things in his life, but he is an artist, and that's how I met him years ago, when he had a lot of his paintings there at the Lewis Auditorium in the lobby, and it was very impressive. So I always wanted to bring him to the show, and when I started the show, I was tracking him down because I didn't have his number, and I know someone had sent me an email, and eventually I found you, and it was very interesting to see what you do. But you're originally from?
Italy.
Italia.
Sì.
And you're from a little town between Rome and Naples.
Between Rome and Naples.
Mm-hmm. What's the name of that town?
Campobasso.
Campobasso.
We are at the outskirts of Campobasso. The name is Campochiaro.
Campochiaro.
So everything's close.
So Campobasso, Italia. And now, as a young man, growing up in this small town in Italy, when you were you gravitating to the arts as a young man?
Always did.
Always?
In school, I always was in trouble.
In school you were in trouble?
Always in trouble. The teacher would talking about whatever, and I would open the history books and draw in Garibaldi, Verdi, Napoleon. So he would call me, what did I say? I don't know. So I was going myself in a corner. I knew where to go.
Now something
always art in my heart. Yeah.
Something you said to me that I found very very funny was that your father had already picked you to be a priest.
Yeah, he sent me in a seminary for 3 years, but he didn't ask me.
You're going to be a priest, but you said it was great though. The seminary itself was an incredible experience.
They were order of Oblates of Mary Immaculate. They were missionary, so he would have been in North Pole, in Africa, anywhere. So we were training for that.
Oh, wow.
The seminary was fantastic because the only thing you do, pray, study, reading. So get trained for
Oh yeah, philosophy, you read all these great
everything.
books. I mean, when you come out of there, you could basically be anything or
It can be
anybody.
anything. Many of them, they have more than one specialty.
Right.
Of course, after theology, 7 years of
7 years of
of
theology, wow.
So it's a long study.
Yeah,
But it was enough for me.
right.
I heard the voice of beautiful girls. Out of the combined, we had a very high wall in the whole perimeter.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
So it was
That's it, that is right.
enough for me.
So now, what artistic things did you do when you were a young man?
Well, as a young man, we were on stages, we were singing, entertaining,
Uh-huh.
and art.
And art.
Visual arts, most of it.
Now you came to the United States or to Canada when you were a young man?
I went to Canada. I was 21 years old, to Montreal.
Montreal, I love Montreal. It's Paris and New York just pushed together.
True.
It's just too cold in the winter, my friend.
It took cold, yeah.
Too cold in the winter.
But
And what did you speak? English, Italian? What did you speak?
well, I spoke French. We
French.
learned French in the seminary.
In the seminary, it was
French, Latin, Italian, Greek. We had everything.
Wow, in the seminary. So you spoke fluent French when you
Spoke
got
French,
there.
yes.
And-
So
and-
I was home, in other words.
Now this was a great migration of Italians that were coming to North America at
Yes,
that time.
there was a
A
very
big wave of Italians.
all young families, young people. There were no jobs. We grown up after the World War II.
Right.
Italy was devastated.
Yes.
They was just trying to rebuild themselves.
Rebuild
But there were no
themselves.
jobs.
There were no
and no
jobs.
hope for students, for
young people.
graduates, for educated
Right,
people.
right.
Yeah.
So now you come. Now, did that sort of create this Italian wave? Did it create like all this Italian stuff happening in Montreal, like restaurants and tailors and things like that? Did that
Correct.
have that effect?
That the young generation, my generation, we all went somewhere
Uh-huh.
because there was no hope.
Right.
There were jobs in the north of Italy.
Mhm.
All the industry are there, were
Right.
there.
Yes.
But how many people they could accommodate?
Right.
So
right.
we had a different vision.
Mhm.
Just explore, go far.
Uh-huh.
We were ready for it.
Right. Right.
We spoke more than one language at that time.
Uh-huh.
So
when-
always adventure. Always loved adventure.
So when did you come to the United States then?
I came in the United States in 1967. So I was in Montreal for 9 years. And I had a working contract in Princeton, New
Princeton,
Jersey.
New
Yeah.
Jersey.
Yeah.
New Jersey again.
New Jersey.
See? Yes. And
So at
so,
the time I was married with a child. We moved here. I always wanted to come to the United States.
yes.
But for Italian quota was impossible.
The quota
Unless
when you
the
guys were
quota
coming.
was 10 years waiting,
Wow.
but you had to have a sponsor as a
Ah.
family member,
Yes.
spouse,
Yes.
parents.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
so I didn't have anybody.
Right. So first Canada, then the United States,
So
New Jersey.
Canada, I had the contract, working contract in
So,
Princeton.
so how old were you when you started then saying, I've made a living, I have my business, now I'm gonna start painting more and more?
More, yes.
Yeah.
But I didn't start then. I started at a very young age.
Okay, so you were always painting,
Oh,
singing.
I had a cousin, he was professional
Mhm.
artist. And I was his pupil at a very young age. We rebuilt, restored many statues for the church and many other things.
All
so
right.
I started right there.
Wow. So you had a great teacher.
And then in school, yes.
hmm You know, when I was at your home, you were so kind. You showed me your studio and everything. And one of the things you did that I thought was wonderful was you prepared a wonderful espresso for me. So could you please? So I thought, an act of kindness only deserves another act of kindness. So I brought our own espresso for us tonight. I hope you like it. I'm using Puerto Rican coffee here, and let's pour a little bit of that. And so so now when you talk about your art, do you do something? Are you in realism, abstract?
I'm on period and everything.
All right.
I cannot stand stay too long in one style.
Okay.
But after a while, I do a series of painting in one way, what is abstract, the surrealism, and then I would always go back to.
Please.
Yep. Always come back to the basic, the fine arts, the realism. So
you love realism.
Yeah, I keep changing it.
Right. Tell me what you think. I need the opinion. Opinion in Italiano. Salute. Salute. Very nice, huh?
Very good.
Ah, thank you. Now I'll be talking very fast all night. That's excellent. But tell me a little story behind this painting here. I read you showed it to me in the studio, but I thought it was wonderful. The story behind this.
First of all, I want to mention something very important.
Go ahead.
It is very hard to understand the meaning the artist has used in a painting.
Okay.
Just like it's very hard to understand Shakespeare or Dante without consulting a vocabulary.
Okay, I got you.
It's very deep.
Right.
That.
Right.
So you need many people look at beautiful painting of art, but they don't know what to look for. They just don't understand.
Yes.
So that's where a good painting is like a book.
Right.
You can read, you can find many things. This gentleman has a special story. I saw him sit on a park bench in Italy. I was a teenager at that time, a long time ago. Before I was a teenager. And he was sitting there. I couldn't resist to get deep to look at that painting, that photograph.
To look at that person, yes.
That person, it was so deep. He's not a common old man. I paint many old men. But he had something special, many things special, talking about the opening book. He shows, first of all, that he's not wealthy. Right. We see from the vestment.
Simple.
The heart, very simple, very common, very old, but what struck me, a couple of things. The white of the shirt. That was before the dry cleaner or the washing machine. And also the accuracy of the mustache, the dignity of an elder man. Most of all, the mystic in his eyes. That was, I couldn't understand. He was looking, but he didn't see anything.
Okay.
Now, the time, again, after the war, there were no jobs, all immigrants. They had to live in the far countries. United States, Canada, Australia, too far. Mostly elderly people stayed in town.
Right.
With loneliness. Now, that guy, I never went close by to ask a question. What is your problem? He probably lost his wife. Probably son, daughter with the children, they migrate, they were left alone. It was very common. There were so many families did that. So that is the mystic in his eye. If you look at his eye, it's an attraction, it's an abstract that I was unable to put on canvas right away. So how are you going to put an abstract on canvas, the look?
So you see him when you're a teenager.
I was a teenager.
You see him. How long before you painted him?
Years. Because I was afraid that I could not deliver that look. That's the only thing in that painting. It's not so many other
so
men.
It stayed here for all those years.
But how was going to, this is an abstract, that the mysticism. How are we going to put that on canvas? It has no color. It has no tangible, anything to
put that energy in canvas.
Correct.
And to feel that energy.
So all these years later, I didn't do it before because I was afraid to not be able to deliver it. Years after, finally, I had courage to do it.
Wow. And there he is. And the name of this painting is?
My wife might know. I just paint. She puts a name on.
That's Nadia, his wife. Nadia. He's also an author.
The reason I didn't ask a question. I didn't go to talk to him, so I don't know too much about him, except what the time was, migration, loneliness, and all the people. Then it's another thing. He has a regular cheap cane. You know very well in Italy, all in the hills up and down.
Yes.
Probably has a physical problem. He needs a cane to go up and to down.
Right.
So it's many things you can read. Anyone to look at one painting, he finds something personal, something different.
Oh.
Am I right?
Yes. Thank
So
you.
that's what it is.
Thank you, Mario,
Oh, my
so
pleasure.
much.
Thank you for inviting me.
And salud again. He wants to take a picture. I thank you so much, and wonderful story. We shall return. We're having an intermission now, and then we'll return.
Hi, my name's Dana. I own Sweet City Cupcakes, and we're located at 233 West King Street. We specialize in custom cakes and cupcakes. We use fresh and local ingredients and bake fresh daily. Each of our cupcakes is decorated with a unique look to complement the flavor. We have signature cupcakes such as the Marilyn, the Elvis, the I Love Lucy. We have a unique vintage look. Stop in and say hello. Have a cup of coffee and a delicious cupcake. Even better yet, take a box home to share with the family.
And now I leave you once again with SUMA. Talk a little bit to the girls here. Your full name is?
Marianne Lerps.
Ah.
Marianne Lerps.
Lerps. And your roots take you back to Venezuela?
I was born in Venezuela.
Okay.
My father was German, hence my name. And my mother was Venezuelan.
All right. And your full name is?
Susan Hadjopoulos.
Oh, that's Greek, if I've heard it.
Greek and Puerto Rican.
Oh, wow, what a mix is that, huh? I'm coming home for dinner. Hey. So Sue, you actually was a session musician.
I was a session musician in New York and toured with a bunch of pop and rock acts.
Yes, Sidney Lauper,
Sidney
Simple
Lauper.
Minds. I mean, it goes on and on
Yes,
and on.
but I started in Latin music.
Okay.
And I was in one of the first all-female salsa bands produced by Larry Harlow.
Oh, yes.
And it was called Latin Fever.
We used to call him the Marvelous Jew.
Yes.
El Judío Maravilloso.
Right.
Uh-huh.
And our
That's
band
great.
was Fiebre Latina, Latin
Oh,
Fever.
wow. Fania All-Stars, all that. Welcome back to New York, Latino here. And a little bit about your history?
Well, since I was born in Venezuela, I was born dancing salsa, merengue, so I couldn't help it. So when Sue and I finally met together,
Wow.
I mean, I have played blues, salsa, bossa novas, you name it.
That's it.
But we had that common ground. We said, oh, we got to do this together.
Mary Ann, she was there. She sung in Portuguese, English, and Spanish, and I said, we got to do this, bring Latin music down to St. Augustine.
So, is there anywhere where we can find your music, guys?
Yeah.
Well, we have a website, and
Okay.
it's like our name, SUMA.live.
Okay.
And you'll find everything you need to know about ourselves, as much as our projects, as well as our projects and our music. We have a calendar there, so everything. You can contact, you can subscribe to our website, so when we have a gig, we'll make sure you know when and where, so we can invite you to show up, just like you did today for the
So you guys know where your next gig is?
Right now, we're in the studio.
Oh.
So we're recording some music, as
Okay.
you heard, and then we will definitely put everything up on the website.
All right, Suma.live, that's where you go. Thank you so much, girls. We'll hear them again at the end of the show. When we come back, we'll come back with Comic Relief with Mr. Topher Matheson. Be right back.
Thank you.
We're back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back with stand-up comedy. I want to introduce a young stand-up comic by the name of Topher Matheson. It's a mouthful. Don't say it too fast. But he's killing it. I saw him at a soiree we put together. He was very, very funny. And I'm going to let you have some comedy.
Hey, St. Augustine tonight. How are you? Yeah, this is great. You guys having a good time so far? Yeah, me too. I'm having a good year so far. This year I did something different. Instead of a New Year's resolution, I wrote resolutions for other people. Just people in my life. Like I look at it, it's like, oh, I think you're the problem. That's how it is. Like I try to tack them on to the resolutions that they make for themselves. You know, like I have like I know someone that's like, oh, I'm gonna lose 10 pounds this year, and it's like, oh, you should also lose the attitude that you have. It's a problem. So I have a friend that's like, oh, I'm going to quit smoking. It's like, quit leaving trash in my car, Nick. You can do both. I know one of these years is going to be the year where things are going to change, where I don't get carded. And this year's not it. It still happens. Still happens every time. I still get carded at the movie theater. And I wish I could say it was just for the R-rated ticket, but honestly, I'll be trying to buy one of those big sodas, and they'll be like, this seems like a lot of sugar for you. Is your dad here? Can I see some ID? I got carded going into a bar recently, and the guy wouldn't let me in. He looked at my ID, and he said, I'm sorry, but this picture doesn't look like you. Which is weird, because it's a picture of me. And he was like, I'm sorry, but the person in this picture looks younger. Is everyone catching on to what the problem with this is? Like, I don't know what the qualifications are for your job to be looking at pictures, but I feel like you should at least have to know what a picture is. Like, that's a captured moment, friend. Time has passed. We've all grown. Let's look at a picture of you from 7 years ago and see if that tool has a ponytail. You know, like, I don't know. That's our life. I went to community college, and I gotta tell you, community college is weird because it's like going to a school that makes the same amount of money as you do. You know, like like they try to hide it, but they're not very good at it. Like my school, for example, had a sports mascot, but no sports team whatsoever. Like none to be found. Like you show up and they're like, "We're the Vikings," and I'm like, "Who are the Vikings?" And they're like, "You are." Welcome to the team. I'm pretty sure my community college's mantra was, "Please become something." We need it. In community college, I took a philosophy class. One day, the professor was talking about words associated with identity, and his example was, so a bachelor is someone who doesn't hold himself to one significant other. And right when he said that, a guy in the back of class went, "Oh yeah." And I thought, oh, what an interesting person gets that excited when words are defined for him. You know? Everybody else is looking around like, that was rude. And I'm like, no, this guy just loves definitions. Don't knock him for getting his word of the day. It's bachelor. Oh. If you guys are wondering how to get into community college, I'll tell you how I did it. I was homeschooled. Yeah. Honestly, I'm not surprised that all of you seem not surprised. Nobody had shock on their face. Just a lot of faces that are like, that's what it is. That's what you're looking at. I don't know. Does education pay off? Have any of you figured it out yet? Anybody? So far, education has only paid off for me once. I used to work at Domino's. That's not it. But I used to work at Domino's, and one time I delivered a pizza to this lady, and as I was handing her receipt to sign, I noticed her total was $17.76. So I said to her, I was like, "Your total is $17.76. Can I get your John Hancock?" If you didn't get that joke, maybe read more. But she got it. She was very impressed. She was like, "Oh, you're a smart boy. You're gonna get a big tip for that big brain." And that's the only time knowing my history literally paid off. And then she was like, "Oh, you're much smarter than that dumb boy I talked to on the phone." And I didn't have the heart to tell her that was also me. I had some weird phone conversations working for Domino's. One time I was on the phone with a customer and he said, "I want you to know that I am not a happy customer." And as thrilled as I was that he and I finally had something in common, I didn't like how he said it. He said it like he was going to beat me at being unhappy. It's like, "Sir, I'm wearing a Domino's uniform. I was here first." Welcome to unhappy, man. I've been waiting for you. I don't know what you want. I couldn't work for Domino's too long. It was, you guys ever see that Domino's commercial where there's a guy that looks into the camera and he's like, "Hi, I'm Brad, and I'm the fastest pizza box folder in Domino's history." You guys see this? And he folds the boxes really fast. And it's like, I don't know. I feel like Brad probably could have set the bar a little higher for himself. You know, like, I don't want to grow up to be Brad. Brad strikes me as a man that has sadness showers. Like, I'm not about it. I have one fond memory of working at Domino's, and this is it. This is one fond memory. One time, I delivered a pizza to this guy. He answers the door, and his shirt says, "Rob Foster, Real Estate." And I asked him, I was like, "Are you Rob Foster?" From the shirt. And he was like, "Oh, yeah, I guess it's kind of weird wearing my own shirt. I only wear it around the house." And so I was like, "Oh, so you wear your shirt with your name and business on it in the one place where everyone already knows who you are?" It's like, that's not how advertising works. Like, what is your home life like where you're constantly having to answer the question, "Who are you and what do you do?" Like, just ask the strangers to leave, Rob. It's your house. He acted like it was weird that he would wear his own shirt, and I don't think that that's weird at all. If I had a shirt with my name and my greatest accomplishment on it, I would be wearing it all the time. The problem is I don't have a shirt-worthy accomplishment. It's just true. It's like, what would it say? Like, Topher Matheson, proof that hobbits are real. Or, you know, like this. Topher Matheson ran his father's small business into the ground. Like, that's not a good shirt. It's not a good shirt. Let's be honest. If I had a shirt with my name and my greatest accomplishment on it, all it would say is Topher Matheson, this shirt. That's it. That's all I got. Thank you guys so much. So much. St. Augustine tonight. This is fun.
Oh, don't worry about that. Great, great. Well, where can we see you?
I don't know.
Okay.
Wherever the next gig is. I don't know.
All right. All right.
Somewhere.
Thank you, Topher. So keep a look for that face. Oh, here, a picture. Let's take a picture. They want to take a picture. You have the mic? All right. We're famous now. If you make it big, I'm in that picture. We'll be right back with our last guest of the evening.
At Martinez & Associates, we can help you with many things. Number one is income for life throughout your retirement, which is very important. Number two would be Medicare choices, which are very confusing. Number three is a legacy for your loved ones. And finally, keeping you independent throughout retirement. My name is Tuli Martinez. Call this number. Y hablamos español.
We're back, ladies and gentlemen. This is what I always call a little slider, where I bring someone in the community to tell us a little bit about themselves or projects. And I have Anna Miller. For those who don't know Anna is a very active artist. She had an exhibition at the Rotunda at the St. John's Administration Building that was very successful. And she's going to tell us a little bit what she's doing now. So you're closing an exhibition on March 1st, right?
Yes, March 1st at St. John's Episcopal Cathedral.
All right, that's in Jacksonville?
In Jacksonville, downtown Jacksonville.
All
We're going to
right.
have a closing reception at 6 p.m. and
That's a Sunday.
Sunday. It's
Okay.
a beautiful, beautiful show and a concert right before that.
Oh, wow. And what kind of art is hanging there?
It's abstract paintings.
Okay.
So I'm mostly abstract artist, even though I'm trained academically. So I can draw people too.
Okay. Well, in the program, you could see some of her work. We put some pictures of her program. I'm a big fan of hers.
Thank you.
The
Thank
group
you,
that
Jorge.
works with me is a big fan of hers also.
Thank you.
And she's on a roll now. You're also going to be at the airport at their, what's that, the Haskell?
I am at the Haskell Gallery right now with women's 50 women artist exhibition. So it's wonderful, wonderful show. And there's few more things coming up, so I can't wait. It's very exciting. I just signed up. Well, it's not a contract, but it's a verbal agreement with a gallery in London. So
You have to practice your British English. You have to speak like this, my dear. You know, talk very British.
bloody not.
Bloody not, yes. And you're also at the Vault in St. Marco in Jacksonville.
Yes, I'm at the Vault in San Marco, Jacksonville, and also taking Monday. I'm driving to Naples to take some of my paintings there.
You're also in Naples. I mean, she's on a roll. Naples, London, St. Augustine, Jacksonville. That is incredible.
I'm
yes.
on fire. I'm on fire.
Yes, that's it.
Oh, fire chief.
There's a fire chief here. Don't say that too loud. That's funny. But I want to thank you so much for sharing that for us. And man, I just wish you all the success. I know you have a family too, a beautiful family. And, you know, God's blessing you. Roll with it, baby. And thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
We'll be back. All right, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here with our fire chief here in St. Augustine, Carlos Aviles. You have fans. And you know, we had a really long conversation, and wow, is all I can say. You've really gone through a journey. You've gone down, you've come up, and to see where you're at is something very inspiring, very, very inspiring. So, and I'll start with your last name, Aviles. It's so St. Augustine.
Oh, it's very, very St. Augustine.
And your roots, where are your roots from?
So I was born in Arecibo, Puerto Rico.
Hey, I went to high school there. Baby. Puerto Rico. Boricua. And so, when did you come to the States then from the island?
So I came to the States in 88.
How old were you then?
88 or 89. I was 5, 6.
Okay, all right. And so you did your schooling all in
I
Orlando?
I did all of my schooling in Orlando,
All
which was very unique. There were not a lot of Spanish-speaking people in Orlando in the early 80s. It's very, very different now.
Yeah, now it's a second Puerto Rico.
Yeah, I used to have to take 4 buses, and it took me 2 hours to get to school in the morning because there was only one school in the county that had an ESOL program.
Yeah, I was a fireman in Orlando from 78 to 82. So about when you were coming, I was leaving, going back to New York. So now you come to Orlando, you do your high school there, and you said in high school you sort of were drawn to the military.
I got into ROTC very early in high school, just really enjoyed it. I don't know why I was drawn to it the way that I was, but I did. And so I pretty much had a feeling early on that I was going to end up joining the military right out of high school, and I did.
And you did. And so when you went to the military, where did you go? Where did they send you?
So I enlisted in the Army. Initially, I wanted to be a pilot.
Okay.
I thought that would be really cool. And so I did delayed entry. I went the summer between my junior and senior year.
Okay.
And did my flight physical and did all this stuff at Fort Rucker, Alabama. Finished high school, was getting ready to graduate, and then somewhere in that senior year, I wore glasses. And my prescription had changed, and they told me I was no longer eligible.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, well, my father had just had a really serious heart attack, and I thought, all right, well, I was the oldest of 3.
Oh, wow.
I want to stay close to home, So what are my other options? So initially, they told me, well, how about being an air traffic controller? And I thought, yeah. That sounds awesome. So I will sit in a box for 12 hours talking to everybody that got a chance to do what I wanted to do. That sounds like a great way to spend a career. So I asked for options in the reserves. I thought I would stay home and go to school. So I ended up becoming a military police officer. I got sent off to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, and did 17 weeks of basic and MP school.
Wow. And then eventually you ended up in the combat zone.
I did. So I got back, signed up to go to college, community college. Is he still here? So I signed up to go to school. I was in school for like 2 weeks and then got a phone call that I was being transferred to a unit out of St. Petersburg, and that we were getting ready to deploy somewhere to the Middle East. So and then we had an idea once we got to Fort Stewart in Georgia that we would be part of the invasion force. So
wow, so you're a combat veteran.
I am.
Twice,
yes.
Because now, man, it's not easy. So now you come back from, if I understood correctly, you come back from the combat zone. You lose a good friend right before you're ready to come back home.
I do.
Which takes a toll emotionally, and people don't understand what it is to be in a pool of blood and suddenly waking up the next morning at Georgie's Diner to have breakfast. There's no time. And so you said it was rough coming back, trying to...
It was. So I had a very, very rough homecoming. So we had a good friend, so it's really hard to kind of tell that whole story, but I was part of an MP detachment in Orlando where there were 60 some odd people in the unit, and back then the Army didn't care where you did your reserve duty as long as you completed your reserve duty. 9/11 changed everything, and the 60 of us all got split up into different units around Florida where there were actual vacancies because the unit that we were in only had room for 12 actual people. It's a very small detachment with a very specific mission. So we all get split up, and I end up going with a different unit, but I knew a lot of people in a sister unit. So we ended up sort of shadowing each other and playing leapfrog all over Iraq for the better part of close to 16 months.
Wow.
And so he was actually my sponsor when I first signed up for the military.
Wow.
So Arthur Mastrapa, who was a postman, a mailman in Apopka, Florida.
Wow.
The post office in Apopka is actually named after him now.
Wow.
So Arthur died. the day before they were slated to go home.
Right.
So they were right before us. He was in line at the PX, the little shopette, trying to buy some souvenirs. So I completely spiraled.
Right,
after
right.
being back home.
Yeah. And so the fire service suddenly comes into
No,
your
the
life.
Fire service. I had a good friend of mine that was on the deployment, Louis Vasalden. He was living up here at the time, and he called me up one day out of the blue, and he's like, "Man, I'm going to go to fire school." And I'm just like, "Okay." I mean, awesome. What's that like? And so he kind of told me about it. Told me that there was a school here in town that did it. I came up here to check it out, see what it was all about, and I was like, I'm in. Let's do it. This can't be any worse than what we've just been through.
Right.
So, and it
Right.
wasn't. I mean, it was, for me, it was easy.
Yes.
I'd say, like, as soon as I got into it,
And it has a military structure,
it
the
does.
fire
I mean,
service.
it gave me that sense of belonging, a sense of purpose. I felt like I was getting an opportunity to join a really time-honored profession and career.
And you told me your dad was so worried about
yeah,
you.
my dad. I went back home, so I was nervous as a wreck. Right, so I used to turn wrenches for my dad. He owned a shop in Orlando, and I was a bum. I was the worst employee ever. Like, I would fire me today. I was just so undependable. And you know, just at the time, my heart wasn't in it. I knew I didn't want to do it, and so. But yeah, no, I did. I went back home.
He was
one
so
day,
happy for
and
you.
I was like, "Hey, so Dad, I'm moving out." Packing everything I had, which like fit into one bag.
Right.
And I'm moving to St. Augustine, and I'm going to go to fire school. And he just kind of broke down and started crying. Was like, "Thank God."
Oh, wow.
Right, like go do something. I don't care what you do, but you need to do something.
Well, he saw that you came back and
Right.
you were having a hard time to adjust, and then suddenly the fire service comes and gives you this whole new. And he saw it, and it did. It saved your life.
It did.
It saved your life. So now you're a fireman. You're working as a fireman, and now you're called back to Afghanistan.
Yeah, so I was getting ready to get called up one time in between. I think it was in 2009. Now, by this point, you know, I'm married.
Yeah.
Right.
And she's here.
Oh yeah, she's
the
here.
The beautiful Miss Aviles.
She's my rock. So we had just had our first child. He was probably 9 or 10 months old. And I do a physical at work, and so there's a high probability we're getting deployed. I'm already seeing the writing on the wall, and I'm like,
the phone calls.
Getting ready to go back. Well, I end up doing a physical for work, and they found thyroid cancer.
Wow.
So I'm like, okay. So I notify the unit. I get off-ramped from the deployment. I got to go through treatment, get surgery, get it cut out. It's a whole big thing. We rushed to have another child because I was worried that was a potential that we couldn't do that. So,
You're 3 childs in now.
I got 3 now.
So much for that theory. How much for that theory? So now
3 at home and then 33 at the station.
And so now you recover from that whole deal thing, but they still grab you and take you to.
Yeah, so I do. I go back in 2014, get called up to go again. We're pregnant now with our 3rd child, and so I'm just going to be really honest with you. So I 100% did that deployment out of guilt. Right. So at the very cusp of getting ready to leave, I get sort of moved into a spot that was really similar, if not the same thing that Arthur had done. So now we're in the same unit. I'm in the unit that he passed in. We're the same rank, right? It's like 8, and
Unbelievable.
I'm like 100% dead set in my mind. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to finish this mission. And so I don't advise that.
Right.
I regret it.
And
I did what I had to do, but it really came at a huge cost for us.
Yes.
So
and Afghanistan makes Iraq look like Tahiti.
It was very different. So Iraq in 2003 was the Wild West. There was It was very. I mean, I did things on that deployment. I should write a book about one day.
But the funny thing in Afghanistan is that they then pick you to train these Afghanis to be
So I'll tell
firefighters
you,
with a
worst
truck?
deployment that worst deployment that we got shot at, all sorts of stuff in 2003 at the beginning of the war.
Mhm.
That deployment was awesome
Mhm.
compared to the one in Afghanistan
Mhm.
because it was a lot of, things are more established. We're doing a very, very high profile mission. Eyes are on us, and it was a zero mistake environment.
Mm.
And so if you've ever been in that type of environment, we had 15 people written up and or demoted very early on in the deployment for truly making simple mistakes, but it was
Right.
that type of
Mission.
mission.
Right.
But yes, no. So at one point in the deployment, so we're retrograding or closing a base. And we're getting ready to hand everything off to the Afghans. And my company commander comes to me and says, hey, so I just talked to the task force commander. Part of closing this base is we have to hand everything over to the Afghans. I'm like, okay. What does that have to do with me? He goes, well, there's a fire station, 2 fire trucks, and contractors that are here. But so their contractors were all American. They're American contractors that are serving overseas.
Mhm.
But their contract is very specific that they cannot work with the ANA or the Afghan National Army.
Mhm.
He goes, there's nothing that says you can't do that.
Oh.
And I go, okay. So he goes, you've got about 10 days. And I need you to figure out a way to teach them to be firefighters. And it was awesome. And you could just hear is it Benny Hill?
The Benny Hill.
Yeah, just that. If you can hear that in your head, that is exactly what it was like.
Wow.
But the base was retrograding, the base was closing, so we had empty buildings where we could do search drills in, and it was just the most primitive thing you've ever seen. We had one interpreter. There's about 14 or 15 of them. Obviously, the fire chief is
someone's cousin.
Yeah, some general's nephew or something somewhere.
Nepotism, I guess they call that.
That's the system. That's how the system works. And so I remember getting there, and he's like, all right, well, so we have a chief. Have any of you ever driven a truck? Anybody? And then one guy raised his hand. We're like, you're the driver and the engineer. Congratulations. So it was just assigning people to different positions.
Did they pass the test at the end?
Oh, well, so yes. So we did at the end of the 2 weeks. At the end of 2 weeks, we did what we call a CTE, or a culminating training event, and it was really cool. So my 1 star's there, the task force commander's there, my commander's there. He's staring at me the whole time like, oh my God, this better work. Right? I'm like, I know. And so we had these we had bunkers that we occupied routinely during indirect fire. So, but at this point, the base is there's almost nobody on it. We're down to a skeleton crew. And so we had put a couple of the bunkers together. It's real thick concrete. I'm like, just throw a bunch of pallets in there and light it on fire. So that's what we did. So there's this bunch of Afghan generals. Our command staff is there, and then just here comes this truck screaming down this dirt road. These guys turn. It gets up on 2 wheels. These guys jump out. One of them screws up deploying the hose, and the guy that we appointed, the fire chief, walks up to him and just slaps him in the face, which is a completely normal form of discipline for them, right? And I'm just sitting there, slowly walking away, thinking, this is the end of me. But it ended up being great. They did it, whatever.
Okay.
Objective reached.
Yes.
They put
Mission
water on the fire, wet stuff on the red stuff. Way to go. Everyone's good to go. Let's pack up and get ready to get out of here.
Now I know we're running out of time, but before you leave, there's a rocket attack, and you're pulled into a situation when you have to triage all these people. And it's really tough. It brings you back to the episode of the beginning that was really tough. And you come back to the States, it's rough again, and once again the fire service saves your life again.
Yeah, I mean, it did. So my life completely fell apart when I got back home, and I will tell you that that's 100% my fault for just making poor choices and not confronting things that I probably should have confronted a long time ago. But yeah, no, I mean, I rushed right back to work, didn't take any time to
decompress.
Or to take care of me or to take care of things. But yeah, no, I mean, like I said, have an amazing wife that has really stuck with me there.
Love at the end, my brother. It's love at the end. And now, so then how you become fire chief?
So I was a captain at this point.
Right.
Working, and I get a phone call one day that the chief is retiring. I had applied for the position once before just for the experience of knowing what the process would be like.
Right.
So, I am already at that point probably doing some form of therapy 3 to 4 days a week.
Yes.
And so I'm a big believer now that, to lead others, you really have to be able to lead yourself first. And so I thought really long and hard about that because I knew that, this department is just so amazing.
And you're leading it beautifully, my friend. You're leading it beautifully.
These men and women and the city just deserves the absolute best person they could get. I didn't think that was me.
You were wrong. You were wrong.
I really, it's such an honor and a privilege. But yeah, no, I mean, similar to the way that fire school really jolted me back and punched me in the face. It's so funny. Like I feel like that Afghan general, right? So it was sort of the reality check that I needed. I ate a lot of crow because I don't think that I was the model employee because I was just not.
Well, you were going through what you're going through, right?
Headspace. So, but it.
You've been chief 3 years now.
3 years now.
Wow.
And so for those of you that have been in town for a while, I had about a month, 3 weeks to a month.
Oh my God! Yes.
On the job when Matthew hit.
Oh.
So here's the keys. Here's the hurricane warning. Good luck. And but I mean, I'll tell you, we've got such amazing people in this town, and I just switched into another gear, and I treated that week like it was a deployment. And, no, I mean, I've been very blessed. I mean, the military has given me a lot of opportunities and life lessons, some really good, some I wish to forget, and that's okay.
It's part of the process.
It is. I mean, and so now, as we're transitioning and I'm really growing into this role, I'm able to really learn from a lot of those things. And so I'm probably one of the largest advocates you'll find for treating PTSD and post-traumatic growth, as we say now, within the first responder community.
Yes.
We're losing more first responders now annually to self-inflicted, damage or suicide than we are to fires. And we've really got to do something to curb that. So.
And you're doing so much.
Yeah. So I mean,
we're
really moving the needle in a positive direction.
And I will bring you back to talk about the future of the fire department. That's a whole story in its own. But man, I am so proud that you are my chief.
Thank you.
God bless you, my brother. He's going to take a picture. People don't understand the struggle of veterans. And we're all, while they're out there spilling their guts, we're arguing over the wallpaper in the bathroom. And that reality has to change real quick because they are the ones who are our line of defense. So to see him where he's at is an amazing inspiration to all of us here. Thank you. Thank you. And we'll be back with SUMA one more time.
At St. Augustine Distillery, we're part of a new generation of American craft distillers. Family owned and operated, we are committed to making the best possible spirits using local agriculture. Our distillers make everything by hand, from mashing and blending to distilling and tasting each and every batch. We distill and bottle everything we sell, making sure that the spirits are just right before barreling and aging. Bottled by real people, we love showing our guests not only what we do, but why we do it. We're passionate about educating our guests to not only what goes into each bottle, but how to make the best possible cocktails. We love St. Augustine, and thanks to your purchases, we're able to give back to the community and help local organizations each and every day.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you for your support.
St. Augustine Distillery, handmade with pride in the nation's oldest city.
One more time, SUMA!
Cuando la tarde languidece, renacen las sombras, en la que tú los cafetales vuelven a sentir esa triste canción de amor de la vieja molienda. En el letargo de la noche parece decir, cuando la tarde languidece, renacen las sombras, en la que tú los cafetales vuelven a sentir esa triste canción de amor de la vieja molienda. En el letargo de la noche parece decir, ¡ah! Una pena de amor, una tristeza, lleva San Manuel su amargura, hacen que se hable en la noche moliendo café. Cuando la tarde languidece, renacen las sombras, en la que tú los cafetales vuelven a sentir esa triste canción de amor de la vieja molienda. En el letargo de la noche parece decir, ¡SUMA!
That's our show for tonight. That's our show for tonight. I want to thank these beautiful women here. Oh, what a Latin mix this is.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
And I thank you all for, thank our guests, Dave Chatterton, Mario della Penta, our fire chief, Carlos Aviles, Topper Matherin, that made us laugh, and SUMA right here, and Anna Miller. And we'll be back next week, and thank you for your love and your support once again.
Thank you.